Chapter 491, Miscalculation. Drifting's heart had already momentarily stopped the instant Gufei had pushed him out the window. Hearing what the man shouted after left him ashen. How could he not know that Cool Apple was the most notorious superstar here in Sai'at City? Could he even hope for a good ending with the other players mistaking him for the man? As he thought of this, Drifting looked below him to check out the situation, but he was soon relieved. At that same moment, Gufei, who was standing by the window, felt quite rueful. Because of the cacophony of cries and sounds of death below, his shout literally achieved no effect in stirring the crowd. As the players were all focused on the enemies they were up against, any of their cries alone easily overwhelmed that half-hearted shout from him. Without anyone noticing Drifting, the mage directly plummeted to the ground. The vigilante core chamber was merely 3 stories high, so a fall from such a height was not death-inducing and merely gave a fright to the players around. What sort of alien is this thing that suddenly came falling from the sky? Drifting got up in the next moment, dusting the dirt of himself, and received a message from Gufei. Looks like you're pretty lucky. Fuck. Drifting raised his middle finger right toward Gufei before turning around in a huff and leaving. The players surrounding him stared at this newcomer suspiciously, yet not one of them took to attacking Drifting. After hesitating for several seconds, these players suddenly remembered that they were in the middle of a battle themselves and hastily resumed their fights. Back on the 3rd floor, Gufei returned to the couch after handling Drifting and began to quietly wait for the time to arrive. In the meantime, he carefully examined Giordano, hoping to discover anything unnatural about his movement, but all Giordano did was stand and converse, making it impossible for Gufei to find anything unnatural about the NPC. When the time finally came, Giordano moved to begin his patrol. Gufei swiftly stood up and sent a message over to Sword Demon and Svelte Dancer. Target has begun moving. Following closely behind Giordano, they exited the room and went down the stairs. Giordano proceeded to the main entrance, pushing the double doors, and slowly made his way around the courtyard. Gufei was not particularly anxious. Hiding behind the door, he observed the situation in the area first. He knew that there would be greater risk for him if he revealed himself in the courtyard. Thus, seeing that he was unable to stroll so slowly like Giordano, he figured that it was better for him to depart from safety just a bit later. Taking note of Giordano's movement speed and the time, Gufei eventually left the cover of the door and gingerly crept out from the government city hall while he took note of his surroundings. Finally, right before Giordano stepped into the area he had estimated, Gufei sent a message over to Sword Demon. Shut it down. Roger that. Sword Demon replied immediately. You'd better start running and do this and that while you leave. Afterward, find an opportunity to stealth yourself. That should do. Gufei made sure to impart the tricks he had employed to reach the courtyard to Sword Demon. Gufei was not particularly worried for Sword Demon doing this by himself, since the fog would have pretty much already formed by the time he got out, so Sword Demon should have an easier time hiding himself. The air within the courtyard began to change, as the fog began to form and thicken at a rate visible to the naked eye. The players originally focusing on the battle started to realize this transformation. What's going on? Everyone shared this same question in their minds. However, Gufei could not even be bothered about this as he began to sprint as fast as he could. Get ready. Gufei sent a message over to Svelte Dancer. It would take about 35 seconds for the heavy fog to spread, and Gufei estimated that he would take about 20 seconds to catch up to Giordano. He's here. By the time Giordano stepped into the kill zone they had set, the fog was already completely settled. The visibility players had right now was same as what was found in the wilds. Gufei arrived right behind Giordano at this point. Everything was perfectly timed thanks to their accurate calculations, yet Gufei soon found himself in a situation that almost had him fainting, as something beyond his calculation happened. They had been surrounded. A large number of people dashed out from the fog, and they were all players from flower gazing in the fog. Having spotted Gufei getting close to Giordano, they rushed over while brandishing their weapons. What are you up to, you rascal? A miscalculation. Gufei cried out in his heart. He had actually failed to account for the most important point. At this time, when flower gazing in the fog was under assault, why would these people not place an emphasis on defending Giordano? The members from flower gazing in the fog had a better comprehension of Giordano's patrol path, They were probably on guard the moment Giordano stepped out of the government city hall, except the sudden appearance of the fog had messed up their flow, which was why they were a little late to arrive. It was nothing compared to the carefully calculated timing Gouffet had done. If it had not been for that, he might have lost his life even before he got anywhere near Giordano. It was as Gouffet had expected. Flower gazing in the fog did indeed make preparations toward the defense of Giordano when it began its patrol, but they were in disagreement as to the method of prevention. Some believed that the enemies might be unaware of the importance of this NPC and target it for an attack. As such, heavily defending Giordano would only result in the Streisand effect. 1. It would be better if they boldly acted as if they were unaware of its existence and got the enemy to avoid Giordano just like the NPC guards out there. The others found this idea to be a little far too daring since there was no way to confirm if the enemies had gotten a hold of this information or if they had merely been waiting for Giordano to show himself all this while. As this disagreement continued, both sides finally reached a compromise: secretly take note and guard Giordano when it appeared. They would not rush to gather their forces to protect Giordano when it left the confines of the government city hall. Instead, they would gather a portion of their manpower and keep their distance from the NPC as it began its patrol. They would only react accordingly if anything strange were to happen and would obviously not do anything if nothing happened. In the end, something really did happen. They did not discover the enemy guilds making any sort of movement, while Gouffet actually kept his distance from Giordano, even further than where these bodyguards were, so they were not on guard against him. By the time Gouffet dashed in, the fog was already starting to form, giving Gouffet the perfect cover to reach Giordano's side without any interference. These bodyguards were only starting to respond to this fog as they realized that something was not right and promptly tried to get near Giordano. Still, they were way slower than Gouffet, who had been prepared for the fog. "Don't come any nearer." Gouffet's sword was placed right beside Giordano's neck. He felt extremely guilty for using the same trick twice. "It's you again." Someone quickly identified Gouffet. They were even more ashamed and subdued than Gouffet for falling for the same trick twice, but they nevertheless did not dare to make a move. 4 minutes. "We've only got 4 minutes," Gouffet cried out to himself, pained. Every single second was precious right now, and every second he spent on this group hurt him. However, if he were to start the attack right now, these men would surely pounce on him in unison and Gouffet was certain he would be unable to handle it. "What do I do?" Gouffet was unable to come up with a plan at this moment, so all he could do was regret that he had not been comprehensive enough with his planning. It was at this moment when a guard came running toward Giordano, causing the NPC to stop and gravely ask, "What's going on here?" "It seems that the dehumidifier is broken," the NPC guard reported. "Head over immediately and check it out," Giordano ordered severely. "Yes, sir." The guard received the order and ran. "Is this part of the plot for the quest?" Gouffet stared stiltedly as the NPCs interacted with one another. One was being held hostage by his sword, yet it remained as calm and composed as ever. What was even going on? However, this happening was not outside of their prediction. Sword Demon would have surely been apprehended had he remained down underground. It was truly too bad that he had a lack of understanding toward what the players would do, resulting in him being in this situation where he was no longer in control. "What now?" Svelte Dancer messaged over. Gouffet could sense that she was somewhere near, but what could they do? Gouffet was mulling over this question as well. "Twerp, you're not gonna have any chance to attack Giordano in such a circumstance. Just leave, we're not gonna make things difficult for you." Someone began attempting to dissuade Gouffet. However, before Gouffet could even respond, a huge commotion came from the back of the encirclement, which caused the crowd to quickly descend into chaos. Apparently, not just one or two were under attack right now, but the entire encirclement itself. It was evident that it was an organized assault. "It's the enemy guilds." This thought flashed through Gouffet's mind even as he saw the men before him begin to adjust and take on the enemies. Gouffet's precious 4 minutes was already down to 3, so he could no longer hesitate further. "It's time to move." Gufei shouted to the empty space near him where Svelte Dancer was positioned as he lifted his sword to take the first strike on Giordano. Gufei was still a little anxious at this moment. This was because the quest was something he had come up by himself. Everything would essentially be for naught if Giordano turned out to just be a regular quest NPC that he could not attack. Fortunately, the biggest worry of Gufei did not come true, as that slash he had performed scored true. The moment it got attack, Giordano turned to him and sent out a punch in retaliation. Gufei did a sidestep as Giordano unsheathed his broadsword, showing a face filled with rage as he came cleaving. Gufei dodged it as he retaliated with a cut of his own. He did not use any spells with it, hoping to only begin utilizing his high damage output after he had identified Giordano's point of weakness. Svelte Dancer also began her offense at this point, planting a cruel backstab onto Giordano's back, before giving the NPC a white birthright after. Svelte Dancer had an extremely high damage output and, using gaming terminology to describe it, created a huge amount of threat in that one stroke, which caused Giordano to give chase accordingly. Svelte Dancer depended on high movement speed to slip away, leaving Giordano to be momentarily left without a choice. This situation also left Gufei to cry bitterly. Several seconds were wasted once more in this chase. It was important for them to quickly locate his weakness, and seeing it give chase like this was basically useless to this end. Attack later. Gufei shouted to Svelte Dancer. He had no other options left but to send forth a twin incineration. Dealing that high damage attack of his, he followed it up with a few more moves to aggravate the NPC further. Svelte Dancer was still foolishly running on her end, as Giordano's aggro finally shifted over to Gufei. Giordano is very strong. Gufei felt this as he continued to contend with the NPC. Thankfully, it did not possess the insane level of speed that the Shadow Mist Assassin had displayed, so Gufei could calmly dodge its attack. However, it had only been using basic attacks to poke and slash all this while. Bosses will always have some sort of ultimate move. Can I evade it when it comes out? Or will this Giordano's weakness only be revealed in the instant it dishes out an ultimate move? Chapter 492, Despicable and excruciating. Its ultimate move came just as Gufei thought of it. Seeing that its basic attacks were unable to deal any damage to Gufei, Giordano simply decided to use his ultimate move. Gufei saw Giordano's still attacking figure suddenly strike forth, the body of its blade dipping low. A circle of dirt around its body abruptly flew outward as Giordano yelled while its blade flipped up, explosive flames. That single-handed broadsword Giordano was wielding, which was many sizes bigger than Gufei's Moonlit Nightfalls, instantly turned red like a branding iron and radiated off a wave of scorching heat as Giordano's broadsword came bearing down on Gufei. Before the sword connected with Gufei's body, just feeling that wave of heat alone caused Gufei's HP to drop, so who knew how powerful that sword blow itself would be? Gufei did not dare to use his sword to block it, for fear of him being melted just by getting too near it. All he could do was evade the attack. However, Gufei was not simply seeking to evade the attack by repositioning himself now but was, instead, choosing a blind angle that would prevent his opponent from continuing his attack. Gufei slanted his lower body and went below Giordano's right flank. This position was at an angle where Giordano's attack would be unable to follow into, unless its joints could twist in a way that was inhumanly possible. Given the realism Parallel World consistently boasted, such a thing was an impossibility. "I'm temporarily out of danger," was the conclusion Gufei had confidently come to when he successfully made it to that position. Meanwhile, as if aware that its strike was ineffective, the color of Giordano's blade returned to normal. However, the moment it returned to its original obsidian hue, looking all somber, Giordano roared anew, "Explosive earth!" Gufei had indeed made the right call with that blind angle. If Giordano wished to attack him in this position, the NPC would have to move itself quite substantially, such that he would be able to observe its movements efficiently and react accordingly. Alas, Giordano's explosive earth was far quicker than what Gufei had imagined. It was as if the move was activated at the same time explosive flames failed to connect. Gufei was a little confused by this. This was because from Giordano's position, there was no way it would hit Gufei using the same move. So what was its point for executing it once more? Gufei had no idea that Giordano was using another move, for even though he heard Giordano's shout, explosive flames and explosive earth one unfortunately sounded similar to each other. Giordano's greatsword dug into the ground at an inexplicably fast speed. Gouffet was still wondering why it made such a baffling action when a powerful force from under his feet hit him. Crap! Registering this on his mind, his reaction time was surprisingly quick. The instant he realized what was happening was also the time he saw to evade the attack. Chunks of earth from beneath the ground exploded and Gouffet was sent flying in the air along with this wave of dirt and soil. He could feel his HP falling, yet he knew that he had successfully dodged a large portion of the damage. I shouldn't lose my life here, right? Gouffet watched his HP gauge descend as he finally lost his balance amid the flying rocks and soil and fell to the ground. Are you okay? Svelte Dancer glided over in a flurry of steps and quickly helped Gouffet up the ground. I'm still alive. Gouffet saw that he was left with 1/5 of his max HP after this attack. How did you dodge that, dummy? Svelte Dancer asked. I really hate such sort of attack. Gouffet was depressed. He had performed such a perfect dodge back there, yet Giordano was able to use such a move to do a follow-up attack just like that. Such an unrealistic and fantastical attack, which was made possible by a skill, was beyond Gouffet's expectation. It allowed Giordano to perform a perfect follow-up attack even after its opponent made it to a blind angle. Of course, what was more detestable was that the two attacks sounded the same. By now, Gouffet had realized that the two were not the same skill. Had the despicable system not made the skills sound the same, Gouffet would not have hesitated so much and would not have lost that much HP in that one attack. The battle was naturally still ongoing. Giordano turned around and, even though Gouffet was nowhere near the range of its attack, slashed its sword out with a roar, explosive when exclamation mark 2. Fuck me! Gouffet yelled as well. At the same time Giordano completed his shout, Gouffet could sense a sharp gust of wind from the sword as it cleaved down to him. Gouffet quickly scrambled to roll away as a deep fissure appeared where he was moments before. There should be a limit to your despicability, Gouffet said through gritted teeth. 3 completely different skills, all sounding the same. It was hard to believe that this was not intentionally designed to be so. Svelte Dancer was already left speechless at this point. She was right beside Gouffet just then, but with the focus of Giordano's aggro being plain, its accuracy it showed in its attack toward its target and the NPC's execution being so exacting, the attack did not even connect to her in the slightest. However, before she could react to what was happening, Gouffet rolled away as a furrow of dirt fissured in the ground right before her. An alarming attack, which resulted in a shocking dodge, at a frightening distance. As terrifying as Giordano's attack was, Svelte Dancer felt that Gouffet's timely reaction to dodge that attack was actually far more intimidating. You're a freak. Svelte Dancer felt that this was apt to describe Gouffet. Are you ready? It's go time. Gouffet said to Svelte Dancer. Have you spotted his weakness yet? Svelte Dancer asked. Giordano strode over after consecutively dishing out its 3 ultimate moves. The NPC was back to using the basic attack pattern it was programmed fault with. It had no other choice as that was just how a boss would act. Ultimately, it was a boss created for players to kill, so it must leave the players a chance to achieve this end. A boss that would relentlessly send out ultimate kill moves would definitely not qualify as a boss. I saw its scar. Gouffet dodged the attacks even as he described it to Svelte Dancer. This guy's attack pattern is a little sluggish and compensated, which is caused by its residual habits. Can you speak to me in Chinese please? Svelte Dancer was expressionless. Simply put, it is originally a left-handed swordsman, but it is now using its right hand, Gouffet said. That means its left hand is injured and is unable to handle a sword, right? Svelte Dancer's eyes shone when she grasped this. It may not be just its left hand. Anywhere along his whole left arm is a possibility, especially at its joints, Gouffet answered. So we need to test the entire arm? Svelte Dancer asked. Yup. Gouffet nodded. Hurry. It's his left shoulder, you fool. Suddenly, a lackadaisical voice sounded from beside them. Svelte Dancer quickly turned to look and spotted a man decked out in fighter equipment sitting on the ground by the side, digging his nose as he watched Gouffet fight with Giordano in disdain. Who are you? Svelte Dancer was on guard. Hello, beautiful. I am that idiot's elder cousin. The man that had suddenly appeared was Gu Xian. Gu Fei did not even turn to look. He already knew that it was him the moment he heard his voice. "Why are you here again? How did you get in here?" Svelte Dancer was extremely astonished. The fight between the two forces, which made up this encirclement, was in full swing, so it was hard to imagine how this man was able to leisurely sit on the ground there. The air he was exuding juxtaposed that of the brawl happening around him. He, I'm pretty lucky when it comes to such things. Gu Xian chuckled. Windcord, quickly go kill that man. A player from Flower Gazing in the Fog hollered to Gu Xian as he pointed at Gu Fei. They were all busy fighting against the opposing guild that came to crash the party, so none of them was available to protect Giordano. The reappearance of Gu Xian was indeed quite a surprise for these people, but what was more pleasantly surprising was that the opposing guild did not bother attacking Gu Xian. Thinking about this, it sort of made sense given Windcord's popularity in Xiao City and the many good relationship he had fostered with the people. Given his status as a free agent that belonged to no guild, players from all these guilds could easily recognize the man and would naturally not seek to trouble him. Wait a minute. I wanna see this twerp take on the boss first. Gu Xian gave this unhurried reply to that request. Fuck. Then, what about our fucking quest? The man from Flower Gazing in the Fog was incensed. Who cares about what happens to your quest? Did I ever say I am here to help you with that? Gu Xian was actually patient enough to respond to the question the man had posed. Ugh! A sudden heartrending bellow tore through the air, causing everybody's heart to tremble as they all subconsciously turned to the origin of the sound. Right in the center of the encirclement, Giordano threw its sword to the ground as its right hand clutched its left shoulder while letting out a blood-curdling scream. Even more shocking was that its eyes looked clouded over, as though the NPC was on the verge of losing consciousness. While Gu Xian was engaging that player from the Flower Gazing in the Fog in bullshit, Gu Fei seized the opportunity to plant two heavy blows on Giordano's shoulder using the two most damaging spells in his arsenal, Twin Incineration and Palm of Thunder. Gu Fei trusted Gu Xian's judgment and eyes. These were things that would not deteriorate as a result of laziness. That first blow made Giordano reveal an expression filled with excruciating pain, and the second blow essentially pushed it into the brink of collapse. Andrew Sue's diary was truly a book filled with hints pertaining to this quest. Locating the weakness of Giordano and applying damage precisely uncovered the shadow of its pain. At Gu Fei's successful execution of this cruel method, Giordano showed a very lifelike simulation of the pain it was experiencing. Gu Fei was touched by the deep-seated fear and trepidation its eyes beheld. This sort of pain was not merely from the injury but also from the fear of its terrifying experience, which was what truly shadowed its pain. The body of Giordano most likely had an entire backstory to it, right? Hey, what are you standing there in a daze for? Kill it already! Gu Xian called out. Gu Fei was hesitant. He knew that Giordano was nothing more than an NPC, and that its purpose was to be killed by players, yet this quest was something he had created in his mind. Unknowingly, he began to feel that these NPCs were living breathing existences. It was the same emotion he had felt while he was reading the Shadow Mist Assassin's diary. The bout of sadness Gu Fei felt as he hoped that the lost assassin would be able to find its way out and continue on with its life. Do I really want to complete this quest? Was the question that suddenly appeared in Gu Fei's mind right now. Chapter 493, Coup de grace oi, quickly kill it already. What else are you waiting for? The players within the encirclement began to experience hesitation when he saw how Giordano had let loose a blood-curdling cry in response to the excruciating pain it was feeling, causing doubt to surface in Gu Fei's heart as well, and he became motionless. Even Svelte Dancer looked at it with pity in her eyes. This left only Gu Xian not feeling moved by the entire scene as he called out to Gu Fei upon seeing them hesitate. It's so pitiful, Svelte Dancer said. We're about to run out of time. Gu Fei said this for his benefit. If he were going to do it, he had better make the decision soon. The fog was about to dissipate, and the horde of NPC guards would descend in no time. Even a celestial being would have difficulty escaping that. Go, go, go. At this moment, someone from within the crowd shouted this. This was followed by Sword Demon showing his masked face from the crowd as he squeezed his way to them. It was not particularly weird to find someone wearing a mask in this day and age, and a mask was a common headgear for assassins. Still, It was wise of Sword Demon not to reveal his particularly striking face right now. Apparently, he was aware of just how unforgettable his face was. Sword Demon was naturally privy to where the agreed on kill zone would be. Using the trick that Gufei had taught him to mix right into the crowd, he managed to make his way to the rendezvous point and catch the ending. Sword Demon gazed at the anguished look Giordano was showing while kneeling on the ground, and while no one could see his face behind the mask, everybody could tell from that he was surprised from his tone. Success. Yup. Gufei nodded. Now what? Sword Demon did not understand why Gufei and Svelte Dancer were just standing stationary on either side of Giordano, looking like bodyguards. Hey, isn't that Miles' elder cousin? Why is he back? Sword Demon at least observed polite etiquette even at such a crucial moment and did not forget to greet the other man. It's so pitiful. Svelte Dancer said this to Sword Demon even as she gestured Giordano. Eh? Sword Demon was perplexed. As a veteran MMO gamer, he was far more psychologically hardened regarding such matters. He did not regard Giordano as a human being, and in his eyes, it was nothing more than a treasure box that dropped loot, gold, and experience. He did not have a shred of sympathy towards system-created characters. Svelte Dancer was a woman, so Sword Demon sort of understood why she would have such a mentality toward this. She belonged to the fair sex that was more empathetic when playing MMOs. As for Gufei, this man would not even bat an eyelid when killing players, yet he would hesitate when killing an NPC. Sword Demon suddenly felt that a person's character was truly far too complex to fathom. We don't have much time. Sword Demon reminded Gufei of this. I'll leave it to you. Gufei patted Sword Demon. Sword Demon did not even pause as he immediately came forward. Anyone could tell that Giordano absolutely had no intention of retaliating, so if this was a cutscene in a normal game, the NPC would most likely have only a sliver of HP left. The scene would end once it uttered some parting words as the player casually dealt the coup de grace. This was precisely what Sword Demon did. With a stab right into Giordano's body, the NPC collapsed to the ground with a thud. He then emotionally turned his head over. I got it. There's indeed a quest, you are absolutely correct. What did you get? Gufei asked. Sword Demon lifted a bloody package. Giordano's head. It looked exactly like the one they got when they slew the mountain bandit leader Sato and the body dropped to the ground. Back then, the system had also automatically severed the head and packaged it for the quest. After all, it would be far too violent and bloody to have the players saw it off themselves. Quick, let's skedaddle. Sword Demon said. He found it strange that these people's faces did not reveal any sort of happiness despite completing the quest so successfully. We do gotta leave. Gufei looked at the time before sweeping his gaze around them. The fog began to lift. It appeared that the dehumidifier was starting to work again. The players from flower gazing in the fog were tired as the fighting dragged on. They looked over when they found the chance, only to discover that their quest giver Giordano, the key character that they had to protect, was already without a head on its shoulders, collapsed all alone on the yellow sand. Ah! These men from flower gazing in the fog believed that this was indubitably the sign of the most failed quest if they had ever seen one. Each of them became frantic in their anger, plenty of them threw caution to the wind and sought to forsake their lives just to kill the murderer, but their enemies soon got in their way. That murderer was a hero in their eyes, a knight that served as the savior to this guild battle. Oi, are you leaving? How long are you gonna continue digging your nose there? Gufei and his two friends were about to leave, yet Guxian was still sitting on the ground, motionless. No need. I have to draw a line and sever my link with you now. Otherwise, I'll be in deep trouble, Guxian replied. Thus, Gufei no longer bothered with the man as he brought the other two with him to dive right into the battlefield. The three were treated like heroes as they made their way out, and players from the various guilds worked hard to provide cover, which was an outcome that Gufei had not expected. However, they had already done their due diligence on the route they would take to leave the place. Ever since he began on this quest of his, Gufei only considered the NPC guards to be the biggest threat, so he had chosen a path that they could avoid getting near them as much as possible while they made their way out of the courtyard under the cover of the fog. With the members from the various guilds' protection, a perfectly planned escape route, and the uncanny movement speed that the three possessed, they managed to slip away without much of a fuss, leaving by the front gates even as sounds of the massacre behind them reverberated in their wake. "It's over." Gufei turned his head back with a glance. He had wasted plenty of time and effort over these past few days on this quest, and now that he had finally made it to this endpoint and everything had come to pass, he could not help feeling a little despondent. Sword Demon, on the other hand, was not in the least bit depressed. He was not at all disgusted with holding the severed head and the bloody package, as a veteran MMO gamer like him considered the issuing of the reward as the highlight of the entire quest. "Oh, is it over?" After taking no more than a few steps out of the gates, they saw a figure appear right before them through the fog, greeting the three the moment they met. "Why are you here?" Young Master Han was actually right before them at this moment. "Minus the series of arrangement yours truly had made on your behalf, would you people be able to complete this quest of yours without so much as a hitch?" Young Master Han asked. "What did you arrange?" Gufei asked. "Go and think about it on your own. Giordano might be dead, yet people remain the same." This detestable man was still as detestable as always. Gufei could feel the melancholy wane in his heart, most likely because it got replaced by the dislike he had for this person standing right before him. "Let's take our leave first," Sword Demon suggested. He was afraid that the people from flower gazing in the fog would catch up and surround them any time. "Yes, let's leave. It's about to finish." Young Master Han agreed as he peered at the courtyard. With the fog inside the premise once more dissipating, the experienced players could tell at a glance that the forces from one side were beginning to depart in an organized fashion. "Just what exactly have you done?" Gufei asked young Master Han. Gufei could tell that the actions of the guilds that had assaulted the members of flower gazing in the fog were all well within the calculation of young Master Han. Of course, the man could not have possibly just been guessing, and it was most likely that he had orchestrated all this in the dark himself, such that their actions ended up running incongruent with those of Gufei's. Suddenly, Gufei thought of the most critical moment of the whole operation. Back in the kill zone that they had set for Giordano, when he was beset by men from flower gazing in the fog, those enemy guilds had come rushing over out of nowhere. Was that really a lucky coincidence? It was not particularly difficult to have made such an arrangement. All it would take was to hint these guilds beforehand and tell them that Giordano was the key character. Revealing the most logical set of coordinates to these men, that final act of coincidence would be easily predicted. Gufei quickly thought back to when he and Sword Demon were researching about the quest. Having been given the diary, young Master Han absent-mindedly flipped through the pages. The man truly was capable of picking out the important information after a simple examination. Gufei made sense of young Master Han's thoughts after all the things that he had missed in his planning. This man in the periphery had actually been able to consider them all. He could not help but admit that this man was truly a head above the rest when it came to the understanding and formulation of such overarching strategies. He calculated every minute detail to the situation and managed to factor in every possible deviation and plan accordingly. "So, are you satisfied?" Young Master Han did not bother answering Gufei's question, but seeing that Gufei looked as if he had stumbled on a revelation, the man figured that he had more or less figured it out by now. "You seem to have a good grasp as to how we would go about our operation." Gufei found some parts of this to be beyond logic and above reason. This man could not have possibly been so accurate in his guesses. "Of course, I asked Sword Demon." The truth to the matter was apparently just that simple. "Brother Assist, where's that oak tree forest with that little log cabin you located in Linian City?" Sword Demon could not wait to complete the mission, so he sent a message over to Brother Assist to find out more. Given Brother Assist's habit, it was only natural for him to record down the coordinates wherever he went, so he soon answered and followed up with a question of his own. "Have you guys gotten any new leads?" "Not just that. We've already finished the quest," Sword Demon replied. "What? Giordano?" "We already completed the assassination quest of the 10 PC. Sword Demon announced. "What? To think it is possible to make progress on the quest without any sort of prompts from the quest logs." Brother Assist's rigid line of thinking toward MMOs had been subverted. "Damn it, we miscalculated." War Without Wounds sighed. "We should have followed Miles, instead." Royal God Call was also feeling remorseful of his choice. "Brother Assist, dogmatically adhering to your experiences is intolerable, a fall in a pit, a gain in your wit." War Without Wounds waxed. "Yes, It's important to be creative. Look at Miles. Best that you learn more from him. Royal Godcall concurred. Hey, the two of you don't have to voice out your irresponsible sarcasm over the mercenary channel for all to see. Brother Assist was depressed. The two were clearly right beside him all this while, yet they still spouted all that on the mercenary channel. What sort of intentions did the two of them have? Their intentions were quickly revealed as they both practically cried out over the channel at the same time. Miles, big bro, bring us along to pick up the rewards. How shameless. Everyone could not help but exhort. Speaking of which, who does this quest really belong to anyway? Sword Demon had his doubts. After all, his quest log showed nothing. We can all go and get the reward. Let's try it and find out. The two shameless men continued to squawk. If even the two of you would be rewarded for this world would truly be void of heavenly justice, young Master Han commented. Even though those men had run to Linian City, they had absolutely nothing to do with the assassination of Giordano. Even if a connection was to be forced, their only contribution would be the fact that they had come into physical contact with the diary at the very start. So, shall we head over to Linian City to find out right now? Sword Demon was energetic. Let's do that tomorrow. It's about time to log out, Gufei replied. Oh, that's fine. Sword Demon would surely find it hard to survive through this entire day, but no one really had any qualms regarding this, seeing that it was Gufei who had said that. So, we don't have to return there? The three men who were already making their way to Xiao City asked. Nope. Young Master Han replied. Then what about that guy, Southern Lone Blade? Are we not continuing our hunt for that man? Don't they still have that staff in their possession? The two greedy men seemed hell-bent on eating everything they surveyed. You trash bags. We would be doomed if you guys were tasked with remembering these things, young Master Han mocked. Chapter 494, A Noob Visitor. Everybody did not feel that they were in the wrong. Indeed, everyone had been busy over this quest in the past few days and had all forgotten about the initial reason they had for coming here to Xiao City, which was to hunt down Southern Lone Blade. It was obvious that young Master Han himself had forgotten about this matter as well, yet he had actually indignantly lectured the others over this right now. That Staff of Resurrection in the possession of Southern Lone Blade's squad was already listed for sale, young Master Han said. Did that really happen? The rest were surprised by this new information. Bunch of trashes. Young Master Han continued to express his disdain for the lot. However, these people who had long been in the company of him were already impervious to his derisive words. Ignoring his insults had already become a habit to them. Could they be intentionally trying to fake us out? Brother Assist asked. No. It was put up in the official trade exchange with the stats of the staff and seller apparent for all to see. Someone already bought it 2 days ago, young Master Han replied. How very decisive. Sword Demon sighed. Since the item is nothing but trouble in their hands, they simply decided to sell it for money. Losing 3 levels across those last few days had probably dealt a heavy blow to their self-confidence. Every one of them was feeling all sorts of emotions, and those near Gufei turned to look at him, habitually thinking that it was all his fault once more. However, if they actually thought of it more deeply, the 7 robbers actually did not directly die by Gufei's hands. I think it isn't just an issue of confidence. Southern Lone Blade is in the inner circle when it comes to the business of larceny. Perhaps, they got hold of some information about quite a few people within the business targeting them, which became their main reason for making such a calculated decision. Brother Assist analyzed. I'll look through the forums later. He might have announced the fact if he intended to throw this ticking time bomb. That makes sense, everyone said. Also, Brother Assist continued to fire off messages across the mercenary channel. The stats and other information on the magic staff, quickly tell me. Gufei and the others not with Brother Assist right now could imagine the knight pulling out that notebook and quill of his as he anxiously waited for further information. Unfortunately, only young Master Han had seen the goods, and he was pretty much unreliable when it came to such things. Though the man was clever, he never bothered to dedicate any bit of his brain cell to memorizing things he was not interested in, so the answer he gave was thoroughly unsatisfying. I forgot. I think the name goes something like Staff of Resurrection and the skill is called Rise from the Dead or something similar. Perhaps the information will be available on the forums. Everyone consoled Brother Assist. The latter, thus, quickly went to log out to get on the forums. Goofy soon went offline for the day as well. While this was a day that the members of Young Masters Elite had achieved total victory, it was a tragic defeat to those from Flower Gazing in the Fog. After Goofy and the two thieves with him escaped, the enemy guilds immediately began their retreat in an orderly fashion. Truthfully, they had no idea as to how they had managed to ruin the guild quest of the Flower Gazing in the Fog here, and all they knew was that they had visited Mayhem to the courtyard and that someone seemed to have succeeded in killing the boss of the NPC guards. This was the best outcome they could hope for. After all, even if they had more manpower for the assault, they would not even dare to have designs on attacking the NPC guards. Young Master Han had expected exactly this, so he had made sure to mention that there just happened to be players doing such a quest and willing to help them defeat the boss. This was why these guilds would cooperate to such a degree. After the dust of the battle had settled, every member from Flower Gazing in the Fog had a look of sorrow to them. The many days and nights that they had persevered for the quest only ended up with a headless corpse of their quest giver. The body lay there, not being refreshed for the longest time, as if it were mocking their incompetence. 3 sighs of Flowing Maple was ashen. He had made all the possible arrangements, yet despite knowing their enemy's target, they were still unable to prevent that man from completing their quest. Where's Windcord? Didn't he say he'd take care of that guy? 3 sighs of Flowing Maple was livid. He left. Someone replied. Before he left, he mentioned something about that man being his blood relative and having tried persuading him but was unsuccessful. Bull fucking shit. 3 sighs of Flowing Maple bellowed. Everybody was silent. Their guild leader was known for being stoic in the face at any sort of adversity, yet it was as if his mind was rattled by what had recently happened and repeatedly lost his temper to the point of giving out emotionally charged orders that were atypical of him. Drifting. Where did Drifting go? 3 sighs of Flowing Maple could not locate that mage anywhere, so he sent a message over to Drifting directly. Sorry guild leader Flowing Maple, I tried convincing that man to give up on his quest, but I wasn't able to in the end. I've let you and the guild down, so it's better if I leave. Drifting replied. Fuck. If the messaging system was a hand phone, 3 sighs of Flowing Maple would definitely have broken it in his anger by now. Flowing Maple, calm down. A comrade of 3 sighs of Flowing Maple came to comfort the man. Let's wait for the quest giver to respawn and see what we have to work with before we do anything rash. The quest giver's right there. 3 sighs of Flowing Maple pointed to the headless corpse still lying on the ground in the courtyard. Everyone had nothing else to say. Giordano was indeed dead, but would the NPCs created by the system be forever lost just because one died? In this case, it was only natural for another Giordano to soon appear and replace the one that had just been killed. It looked like 3 sighs of Flowing Maple was really in a current state of mess, mentally speaking. The other players each began to back off, for they felt that it was not wise of them to be dealing with the man right now. Giordano would patrol the courtyard once a day, which was about 6 hours in real time. No one from Flower Gazing in the Fog left the premise and spent the 6 hours with a heavy heart. Finally, the door of the government city hall opened, and Giordano appeared right before everyone's eyes with a placid smile on his face. No one was excited, since this was just how every NPC was upon respawning. The look it had did not change the fact that the previous Giordano had been killed hours ago. Sure enough, upon reaching the position where it would usually announce the progress of the quest, the new Giordano was infuriated. I'm the new Vigilante Corps Captain Giordano. My predecessor was assassinated while under your guard. Just how in the world are you people doing your job? No one cared to answer. What sort of response could they give to an NPC criticizing them? No matter what honeyed words they said or begged for forgiveness, the NPC would just be merciless. Everyone was merely waiting for Giordano's final verdict to be announced. Minus 50 points. You guys better buck up from here on out. The new Giordano turned and walked away. Guild leader, someone, come over quickly. The guild leader has turned catatonic. All the players were in a state of panic. 50 points. 3 sighs of Flowing Maple could almost feel his tears welling up when he came to. That 50 points meant 50%. With the entire courtyard no longer even having a single blade of weed, 3 Size of Flowing Maple simply could not think of any means by which he could earn back this 50% progress. Did he have to depend on the minuscule but gradual increase in progress he got every day? Would he even be able to complete this quest in this lifetime? Let's leave. We'll abandon this quest, 3 Size of Flowing Maple announced, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Everyone was in low spirits, not knowing what else to say. The morale of the guild had plummeted to the lowest depths knowable to man. Guild leader. At this time, someone suddenly sent a message over to the guild channel. There's someone outside the gates calling for you by name and looking to meet you. Let him in, 3 Size of Flowing Maple replied in a daze. Perhaps he did not see it as a problem. The point was he agreed to this request because he simply did not think that the matter could get any worse. Who's this person? People in the guild wondered. The man soon presented himself before 3 Size of Flowing Maple and his men. He lifted his eyes feebly and said after using his appraisal skill, "We won't accept anyone that has yet to reach level 40. The person before him was a small level 35 priest. You lost 50 points after Giordano got killed, right? The man was smiling when he asked this. Yeah. 3 Size of Flowing Maple answered, before becoming startled. Who are you? How did you know that? The man roamed his eyes across the downcast players around him. Don't be sad. You've still got a chance to salvage this. What chance? Something that will earn you back 50 points at one go. If it's successful, you may even accomplish the quest right there and then. That smile was stuck fast on the man's face. You. Who are you? 3 Size of Flowing Maple once more regained his usual composure as his mind churned. Who is this guy? A spy from an enemy guild? But there doesn't seem to be a need to fudge things up for us since our quest has already failed. So what is the true intention of this man? My name's Fleeting Smile, believe in me and I can help you. The look of confidence this man showed amid this sea of disappointment and dejectedness was striking. Is that so? Then, what should we do? Tell me more. 3 Size of Flowing Maple was hoping that there was truly a last resort he could do to turn the tide for the quest. Don't give me that look. It's not really that tough. Follow me. Fleeting Smile did an about turn. Let's have a look. 3 Size of Flowing Maple addressed the men next to him and followed Fleeting Smile. The look on everyone's faces was a mixture of suspicion and surprise. They had all been guessing just who this person was, with some even believing that their guild leader was still falling apart. So much so that he would even believe the words of some unknown level 35 noob. Another day passed. When Goofy got online the next day, he was immediately greeted by Sword Demon, who had clearly been waiting for his arrival the whole gaming time. Let's get moving. Sword Demon called together the others still in Zyota City. Let's teleport. Goofy said to Svelte Dancer. He knew that the teleportation scroll could transport more than one person at a time. Scram. Do you think it grows on trees? Svelte Dancer instantly rejected his request. She was prepared to use such an expensive item in times of crisis. Someone being lazy was definitely not a reason to use the scroll. I've heard that there's a shortcut that's much closer than Linshui City, Sword Demon said. Oh? Zyau, Linshui, Linian. These 3 cities are laid out like a triangle, so it is entirely possible to walk from Zyota City over to Linian City, Sword Demon explained. So why did the Shadow Mist Assassin head over to Linshui City if he's from Linian City? Goofy asked. Sword Demon was quiet for a moment. Let's not talk about logic when it comes to the system, alright? Sometimes, it's realistic, other times, it's entirely nonsensical. Goofy complained. Passing by Linshui City as he had should be an important clue as well. A normal player would most likely have to search for something over there, young Master Han said. What do you mean? What normal player? Simply put, do you really think a normal player would be able to determine where Giordano's old injury is after exchanging a few blows with it? Young Master Han asked. So what you mean to say is, the diary mentioned that Giordano has an old injury, but where that injury is would most likely be a lead that a normal player would have to waste plenty of time and effort finding out. Where would anyone find a barbaric guy like you that would resort to violence to resolve this? Young Master Han scoffed. So do you mean that the clue would be in Linshui City? Gufei asked. That's not what I said. I simply mean that the assassin traveled through Linshui City. This has nothing to do with the system being illogical and has everything to do with the system giving the quester an obvious clue or lead to follow. Since you guys believe that it is realistic, portions that you deem nonsensical should not be considered as illogical but uncertainty, instead. Chapter 495, The League of Assassins, 1. Everybody eventually agreed with young Master Han's statement. The method with which Gufei had completed the quest would often be muddled in with some level of inhuman feat, such as soloing Sato during the open beta days, identifying the traces of battle from the environment in Yaguang village, and getting a good read of Giordano's old injury just from how it attacked. Normal players out there would be unable to achieve any of these feats, so if a normal player wished to find out just where Giordano's old injury was, they would most likely have to use some other method to do so. Meanwhile, Gufei instead relied on his skills and taken this shortcut. The lot of them chatted as they set off to their destination. Gufei made sure to send his message of farewell to everyone he had met in Zai'atu City. Swing by whenever you're free. The one who had given the warmest reply was two, Scissorhands, from their gang of 9 before. Bye. Slyra's reply was the plainest. Haha. I'm now among the 10 great adepts for thieves. Yenziazu did not really care who she was sending this message. She was simply sharing her joy with anyone who messaged her. Gufei chuckled, for it was also due to his actions that Yenziazu had made it among their ranks. After all, she had only gotten in after Gufei had slain Cool Apple, someone who was previously a thief among the 10 great adepts of his job class. Oh, was the only reply of Guxian, which was meant to express that man was truly someone who would demonstrate his laziness in every moment and aspect of his being. The journey itself was boring. Young Master Han whiled away his time by drinking liquor. Meanwhile, Sword Demon was definitely a man who could bear the loneliness and boredom. As for Gufei, he took this chance to practice his footwork as he walked. In the end, it was Felt Dancer who was the most bored. She began to regret not using a teleportation scroll for this, but it was already too late for that. There was no mailbox out here in the wilds for her to use, so all she could do was chat with the other ladies on her guild channel to kill time. We're almost there. Finally, the iconic lush sea of trees that Linian City was known for came into the view of the party of 4. Getting onto the road on the outskirts of the jungle, they saw 3 familiar faces. Brother Assist, War Without Wounds, and Royal God Call, who had been waiting for their arrival, watched the 4 figures approach. They are here. Royal God Call was particularly enthusiastic, looking as if he had missed everyone dearly. Oh, the beautiful Svelte Dancer is here as well. There was no way his eyes would not spot a beauty once she came into view. Yes, so, let's not waste any more time. Let's party up and complete the mission. War Without Wounds was shameless for making sure to emphasize the word us when he said this. I really can't think of any reason you guys should have a share in the reward. Sword Demon said. Wounds, neither you nor Royal even read this diary, right? What do you mean? I heard Brother Assist read out 3 pages. Royal God Call looked really proud when he said this. Let's go. Bring us to the small log cabin, Gufei said, as the 3 men were included into the party. Brother Assist quickly led their party of 7 deep into that oak forest. Brother Assist pointed ahead, and right before everyone's eyes, a small wooden cabin stood all alone. Gufei went ahead and lightly pushed the door open. Back in Zai'atu City, not long after Gufei and his friends had left, everyone in flower gazing in the fog was in a state of celebration. Moments ago, the new Giordano had appeared before them and announced, "You people have done very well with the given task this time. The city lord is very pleased with your contributions to the city and have decided to reward all of you for your efforts." That's it? Is the quest completed? 3 sighs of flowing maple could hardly believe his ears. He looked incredulously at the priest fleeting smile standing beside him, the noob that had mysteriously appeared out of nowhere. Under his direction, the quest that flower gazing in the fog had spent countless days over was completed in just a single day. Of course, yes, fleeting smile confirmed. You may go look for the city lord now. After temporarily being given the permission to enter the government city hall, the guild leader, 3 sighs of flowing maple could barely contain his excitement as he followed the new Giordano to meet the city lord. The reward, which was given thusly, was exactly the same to what was rewarded to all those other guilds for completing this quest, which was the prize for placing first in the guild PvP tournament per city. Coins and experience were awarded to players that had not died in the course of this quest, but more importantly, the guild itself leveled up once. By the time 3 sighs of flowing maple stepped out of the building, he was experiencing such a rush of delight that he could barely repress his smile. The gloominess he had felt for the last few days was swept clear, and he was no longer holding that much grudge against Gouffé despite how much trouble he had caused time and again. Instead, he was extremely intrigued by this noob who went by the name of Fleeting Smile. He wondered how such a character knew so much, and what sort of background the man had. I am truly grateful for your assistance. 3 sighs of flowing maple walked over and thanked Fleeting Smile, expressing his heartfelt gratitude toward the man. It's nothing. I merely did what I should be doing, Fleeting Smile said. What you should be doing? People who had heard his words were nonplussed. The quest that you guys have picked up was ruined by something that shouldn't currently be possible. No player out there should have been able to accept this quest to assassinate Giordano. Likewise, it should have been impossible to complete this quest even if anyone had gotten it, Fleeting Smile explained. However, someone did indeed receive the quest and even managed to complete it. The image of the detestable black-robed mage appeared in 3 sighs of flowing maple's mind. Which is why, he is an existence that defies logic, Fleeting Smile said. Are you a GM? 3 sighs of flowing maple was quick-witted and quickly caught on to this. Nope. Fleeting Smile shook his head and chuckled. I'm just a normal player. 3 sighs of flowing maple and the others were all mystified. If he were just a normal player, then why was it his business if their guild failed to complete this quest of theirs? Furthermore, he had not even hinted on any sort of benefits he would like to receive in return. Alright, congratulations are in order for your guild in making it to level 7. I'm taking my leave now. Fleeting Smile turned around to leave. Hey, wait. 3 sighs of flowing maple darted over after the man. While he had no idea about this man's true identity, 3 sighs of flowing maple was certain that he would surely benefit if he were to absorb this priest into the guild. Guild? I think it's best if you forget about it. I'm about to depart Zyota City immediately, Fleeting Smile replied. Leave Zyota City? Where to? 3 sighs of flowing maple subconsciously asked. The reward for assassinating Giordano should require him to head into that oak forest by Linian City. Fleeting Smile replied, yet he seemed to be saying this more to himself. Linian City, Oak Forest. Gouffé was the one to push open the door to the log cabin, but he was the last one to enter. The rest was far more anxious than him. War Without Wounds and Royal God Call even fought to be the first one through the door, despite having contributed nothing. The log cabin had poor lighting, but everyone could tell that the room was designed to resemble a study. An NPC was seated right at the desk and barely reacted to their sudden intrusion. All it did was raise its head and gaze at them. My name is Gru. May I know what you people are here for? This line was just the same one Brother Assist and the rest had heard when they first visited it. Sword Demon glanced at Gouffé once before walking over with that bundle of Giordano's head. Everyone stared with bated breath. Just what sort of quest was this going to be? Gru, after seeing that bundle, finally gave a reaction different from what Brother Assist and the others had seen. Giordano? Is that Zyota City's Giordano? Gru asked in surprise. That's right, Sword Demon replied. Did all of you do this? Gru gazed at everyone in the room. War Without Wounds and Royal God Call were the first to become excited. It's saying all of you means we're included as well, right? No one bothered with the two. Sword Demon merely answered accordingly, that's correct. Where's Andrew? Gru asked. He's dead. Sword Demon answered after a slight pause. The reason he had paused was because he only remembered then that that was the Shadow Mist Assassin's real name. Players usually collectively just called it a boss, so no one really bothered to remember its name. What a pity, Gru remarked. Hearing about the Shadow Mist Assassin's death, the NPC did not exactly show any sort of noteworthy emotion, as if what he had just heard was business as usual. After a moment's silence, Gru continued, you people are not of the League, But your action of completing this assassination assignment is enough to qualify you into joining the League, so ponder over this. Only those who join the League are entitled to the reward. We're joining. War Without Wounds and Royal God Call bounced up and down the moment they heard that they would be rewarded. Don't be so hasty, let's first find out the situation we are in. Brother Assist sought to caution the two men as he heard Sword Demon ask, League? What League? League of Assassins, Gru answered. What is that? Sword Demon asked. It is a secret ancient organization that exacts absolute punishment to purge evil from the world. However, now that people's ideals have largely been replaced by material desires, we have no choice but to depend on passing out rewards as a way to sustain our call of duty. So how about it, young man? Be it your ideals or any other intentions you have, this door is now open before you, Gru urged. Sword Demon turned to look at the others. With such an introduction to its background, these veteran gamers all had the same feeling of familiarity. Brother Assist, who had the greatest grasp to information, was the first to conclude accordingly. Could this be a faction? Factions were a concept that some MMOs included. It divided the player base into different groups, a design that sought to increase the competition and interaction between the players. Ever since Parallel World was released, there had not been any promotion or even introduction toward the faction system. Some players had criticized this point, yet the officials had maintained their silence on this. Is this a faction? Seems like it. Should we join and find out? Not sure if we can quit it after we do that. Whatever, man. That's just how a faction work. Its strength depends on the decisions the players end up making. So are we going to join this League of Assassins? I wonder if there's any job class restriction. Could it only be for assassins? We'll know once we join up. After a long discussion, they unanimously decided to give it a shot, and the first one to attempt joining was naturally Sword Demon. I wish to join the League of Assassins. He informed Gru of his desire. Wonderful. Young man, I hope you are driven to your decision by your desire to fight for your ideals and not for coin. Take this, it shall be a symbol of your identity. Gru's arm waved as a black beam of light pierced through Sword Demon's left arm. Sword Demon felt a sharp prickling pain and quickly rolled his sleeve up to take a look. An image of a dagger was tattooed on his arm, a line of English words visible on its blade, and the number 2 was etched on the grip. Chapter 496, The League of Assassins, 2. The group of them huddled around and examined Sword Demon's arm. Royal God Call pointed to the blade of the dagger tattoo and asked, "What's written in there? Death or glory?" Young Master Han translated for everyone. TSK, TSK, TSK. Everyone tutted in unison. Number 2. Brother Assist was hung up on the number. Does that mean that Sword Demon is the second to join the League of Assassins? In other words, there are only 2 members right now, young Master Han said. 2 members. I don't think it is appropriate to call it a faction, War Without Wounds said. That just means that the use of this system hasn't spread among the general public yet. Considering the strength of the Shadow Mist Assassin as an approximately level 60 boss, and this quest, which gave us the option to join this faction as a reward, came from its diary, we can say that level 60 is the point where the players can join a faction en masse. It might be possible that such an opportunity would arise following along certain other questlines. Brother Assist analyzed. Everyone felt that it was a logical assessment. However, the world out there sure is vast. To think that we are not the first to complete a level 60 quest. I wonder who is the saint that got the number 1 spot. Brother Assist sighed. Who cares about him? We wanna join, too. Royal God Call and War Without Wounds cried out in unison, fighting to be the next in line. Obtaining a leading number symbolized their qualification, which was practically a lifetime's worth of glory. No matter how powerful the person with the number 42,568 was, he or she would never be able to supersede the pride that came with being number 1. Why else would people take their QQ superscript 1 serial number as a nickname just because it was shorter by a few digits? I wanna be 3, I wanna 3. Royal God Call and War Without Wounds yelled as they charged toward Gru. In the end, the NPC stared at the 2 men coldly and remarked with disdain, "Even though the League of Assassins is no longer as pure as in the days of old, that doesn't mean any random person can walk up and join us." "Then, how can we join?" The two asked at the same time. Gru did not answer them. Everyone else was deriding them. We've already said it, there's no reason for you guys to qualify for the reward as well. In that case, I probably wouldn't be able to join, either. Brother Assist stepped forward to give it a shot, and just as he had predicted, Gru gave the same answer as before. I won't bother trying either, then. Young Master Han did not even attempt to interact with Gru. While he was a big help in this quest, no matter how much he was involved in the positioning and organization of the battle, the mechanical system the game was based on would never be able to calculate his contribution. Only the players themselves would know in their hearts how much his participation mattered. Everyone's eyes fell on the final two players. Svelte Dancer was personally called over to open the lock, entered the underground room where the dehumidifier was in, and even managed to stab Giordano. Logically speaking, she had substantial participation in this quest. They all watched as Svelte Dancer came forward. However, in a shocking turn of events, Gru's expression immediately turned scornful the moment it laid eyes on Svelte Dancer. Rogue, it seems you've completely abandoned any sense of ideals and has come to worship money in every sense of the word. You've already fallen into the abyss. The League of Assassins will not be tainted by the likes of you. What? Svelte Dancer was completely stunned, feeling wronged and at a loss. It sounds as if Gru has issues with your job class. It appears that the League of Assassins won't accept rogues, Brother Assist offered. Everyone found this to be a little strange. Rogues and assassins were advancements from the same job class. The thief job class would split into two paths once it reached level 40. Who would have guessed that a group that had the assassin's name to it would vehemently reject players who had chosen the rogue path, and the tone the NPC had used even sounded as if it held a deep-seated hatred for it. Would mages be rejected as well? Gufei stepped forward this time. Everyone wondered what sort of vicious words Gru would spout to vilify the mage job class. Everyone was once more in for a shock as Gru glanced at Gufei and heavily reprimanded the man. Stick to your word and adhere to your ideals. No one welcomes capricious and fickle-minded individuals. Everybody hung their mouths agape, with War Without Wounds obliviously asking, man, this Gru sure has a way with words. What the heck did he mean this time? I don't know, Miles, talk to it again, Royal God Call suggested. Gufei tried to join the faction once more, but the silly NPC repeated the same line as before. It sounds like this line is Gru's way of refusing you from changing your faction. Brother Assist said. Miles already joined a faction? When did that happen? Everyone was stunned at this revelation. When was this? Why don't I even know about this? Gufei was equally perplexed. Wait a minute. Sword Demon spoke up, pointing to the tattoo he had on his bare arm. Something unique about factions is that they'll provide a sequential serial number to the players who join them. Everyone once more turned to look at Gufei at this point. Could it be? Gufei had taken out his bounty license by now. This is considered as a faction? Looks about right. Everyone nodded. What kind of faction is this? Gufei was in despair. Sword Demon's faction had such a resounding name, possessing a resolute philosophy with an NPC that had quite the gift of the gab. Anyone could tell that this faction had the potential to see great success, yet Gufei did not even have any general idea of what his faction was called. The others were all sniggering at his expense. Ahem, what you have here looks to be the career of a civil servant. Working for the government is a secure job. War Without Wounds said. A detective, cop, or a city manager? Royal God Call imagined. Hey, at least, you're number one. Brother Assist said. No wonder you can't trade that thing. It works exactly like Sword Demon's tattoo. Svelte Dancer said. Then, what if I lose it? Gufei suddenly wondered aloud. If this is truly a proof of membership to the faction, I reckon there will be some ways for you to get a replacement if you do lose it, Brother Assist supposed. But given the system's ever despicable nature, I'm sure there's an exorbitant fee for the replacement, and it's most likely the reduction of benefits from your said faction. Young Master Han added. Benefit? I don't even have any. Gufei said. Everyone patted him, silent. Come, let's continue to further our understanding of this League of Assassins. Everybody turned their attention back to the matter at hand. Gufei's nameless faction was far too lacking in its character that these veterans had already deemed it to be a weak faction. Since everyone finished trying to join the faction, Sword Demon renewed his interaction with Gru. As a member of the League of Assassins, you need to constantly develop your skills. Here, choose a skill that you need. Train hard and get a good grasp of it. Gru said. Wow! Everybody exclaimed. You got rewarded so soon. As they shouted this, their eyes inadvertently strayed onto Gufei and the bounty license he was holding. Amid Sword Demon's delight, the others inquired, what did you learn? Dual-wielding mastery. Sword Demon replied excitedly. Today was truly his lucky day. Not only did he manage to learn that insane over-leveled skill Shadow Mist Assault, he now even learned the dual-wielding mastery skill he had dreamed of having. With a cold gleam, Sword Demon equipped a pair of green tier daggers, lasting sentence dying breath. Wow! Big Brother Sword Demon looks so cool. Royal God Call faked a high-pitched scream. Svelte Dancer was also a dagger user, so her eyes burned green with envy. You're invincible now. Utterly invincible. War Without Wounds clapped Sword Demon on his back. They were all clear as to the stats and traits lasting sentence dying breath possessed. However, a tinge of regret lingered in Sword Demon's eyes. I still can't use the skill this set of daggers has. Don't be too greedy. War Without Wounds said. Not that. I'm just wondering what the necessary requirements are to activate it. Miles, the skill on your sword hasn't been usable all this while, right? Sword Demon asked. Gufei nodded. If it's not an issue of level, it must be that my sword aptitude isn't up to par yet. With how you allocate your stats, you shouldn't even have enough spell aptitude to begin with. Someone commented. His robe has that trait spell mastery +1, another reminded. Could it be that Sword Demon still doesn't have enough dagger aptitude? Even with dual-wielding mastery, it's split between the dominant and the non-dominant hand. The aptitude a non-dominant hand has is lower, especially since Sword Demon has just learned it. Wait till he levels up its proficiency. As someone who also had the dual-wielding mastery skill, War Without Wounds provided his view accordingly. That seems to be the case. Everyone did notice that the glow from Dying Breath, which Sword Demon was holding in his left hand, was dimmer than the glow of Lasting Sentence, which was in his right hand. Quickly tell us what other benefits you got from the League of Assassins? Everyone urged. Nothing else. Dual-wielding mastery was one out of the 3 skill rewards I could choose from, Sword Demon answered. One out of the 3? What are the other 2 options, then? These people asked. I chose the passive skill Dual-wielding mastery. Another is an offensive skill, Throat Slice. It's usable only when the target is below 15% of maximum HP. An accurate strike will result in a sure kill. The other is a movement skill, Shadow Step. Creating blurry after images and instantly appearing behind the target, Shadow Step? Before Sword Demon finished his words, Gufei already exclaimed this in surprise. You know that skill? Everybody was astonished. Gufei should be a blank slate when it came to in-game knowledge, so there was no reason he should be aware of a skill that even they had not heard of, unless he had seen it during his parking stints. Have you fought someone with that skill before? Young Master Han asked. Gufei nodded. So that guy should be number 1, then. Everyone made such a guess. Based on the information they had gathered, they could draw the assumption that this faction should be something for players at level 60, meaning, the skills that the faction provided to its members would be at that same level. Such over-level rewards were not exactly common, so it was highly likely that the same skill could possibly be awarded via the same method. And this person would be. Everybody was waiting for Gufei to reveal this player's IGN. Cool Apple, Gufei immediately supplied. Cool Apple? He's from Xiao City. So it was your handiwork when that man, who used to be part of the 10 great adepts for thieves, dropped by a level 2 days ago. Brother Assist said. You guys didn't know that? Gufei thought he had already told this lot about the story with him and the gang of 9. You've mentioned it to me before, Sword Demon affirmed. Cool Apple seemed to have been 4 from that incident. That's the one. Furthermore, not only did he learn the skill Shadow Step, even his dagger has that ability, which is why he's able to use it twice consecutively. It's pretty hard defending against that, Gufei shared. Pretty hard to defend? Didn't you still manage to slay him, you 10 adepts killer? I knew it's your doing when the leaderboard changed anew, Brother Assist exclaimed. So that guy's actually the number 1 in the League of Assassins? That park maniac. Gufei recalled Cool Apple's depraved smile. Chapter 497, Cumulative condition, that's not right. Gufei thought about what he knew of Cool Apple and suddenly yelled this out. What? The others all stared at him. Over inside the city, I heard Slyras mention that Cool Apple possesses a bounty license. It's because of this he can enter the government city hall, yet now you guys are saying that he's the first member of the League of Assassins. How is he able to join two factions? Gufei could not make sense of things. Slyras was probably making a baseless claim. Is she able to verify this to be fact? Young Master Han said. I'll ask her. Royal God Call would not let go of any chance to speak to a lady. I'll do it. War without wounds fought. Thus, the two men continued to argue with each other for the chance to get in contact with the lady. Just one of them doing this would do. Nobody would enjoy having someone else butting in over this chance like this. In the end, Gufei had already gotten the answer out of Lady even as the two bickered on who would do it. Slyras said, fuck. The moment Gufei mentioned her name, Royal God Call and War Without Wounds knew that they had been squabbling for naught and raised their middle fingers at Gufei. Gufei ignored the two and continued, she only heard it through the grapevines and has no idea how the rumors came to be. Well, that makes no sense at all. Brother Assist said. Miles already has the first bounty license, so it means no one else was able to get it before him. Since the officials haven't leaked any information about this at all, nobody should be aware of the item's existence, unless Miles himself said something about it. How could a rumor about the bounty license even begin? And one more thing, I'm already the first. If the rumors are true, that means Cool Apple's number should be before mine. Is he number 0? Gufei asked. I don't think so. Theoretically speaking, a game would usually standardize the way they represent things like serial numbers sequentially. I don't recall anything that starts with 0 in Parallel World, so theoretically speaking, there's no reason he'd have a number 0 bounty license, Brother Assist replied. Brother Assist, you have a lot of theories. Everyone gave him the side eye. Well, it's entirely because of this game's oddity that it's difficult for me to be certain, Brother Assist said discouragingly. Everyone could understand why Brother Assist would be feeling so discouraged. Brother Assist had applied the usual approach from his understanding of the average MMOs on this recent quest, yet it was Gufei's atypical approach that had yielded result. Brother Assist had essentially lost in making the right call against all the presumptions that Gufei had made. Gufei patted Brother Assist on his back to console the man and was about to continue on this topic when young Master Han jumped the gun. Let's just stop guessing. What's the point of continuing with making all these assumptions besides meaninglessly satisfying our childish curiosity? Then, what's meaningful? Gufei asked. Mission. Sword Demon muttered to himself as he maintained eye contact with Gru. He proceeded to turn around and address everyone. There's a mission here. What sort of mission? They asked. It's a daily. Sword Demon replied. Gufei immediately recalled the daily mission that Giordano had given him a few days back. It seemed that what Sword Demon had just received was something in a similar vein, and it was something a faction uniquely offered to its members. Everybody was stunned when they heard Gufei share his recent experience. So that means that Giordano is actually a NPC that you shared a faction with. Brother Assist said. And you killed him. Royal God Call added. The experts all looked at one another. What? Gufei asked. I have no idea about Parallel World, but for any other MMOs, players will have fame or reputation points system with their faction, where it is likely for a member to suffer a penalty for killing someone in their faction, be it a player or a NPC. Certain games even designed it such that someone can get one kicked out of their faction after doing it for a specific number of times. Brother Assist explained. To be honest, I still don't understand, what's the difference with joining or not joining a faction? Gufei asked. Well, the most obvious example, Brother Assist explained, is how he has gotten a skill and gained access to a daily mission no one else has at the moment. He was pointing to Sword Demon when he said this. So why didn't I gain a skill? Gufei wondered. That's what we've been saying. A whole bunch of them turned around and sighed. Trash faction. That's not necessarily the case, Brother Assist said. It's entirely possible that Miles hasn't found the NPC that will reward him accordingly. Every faction should be equal, so there should not be too much of a difference when it comes to the rewards or difficulty of the missions. That's right. How did you even get that bounty license of yours? How would these veteran gamers not understand the logic behind Brother Assist's statement? They were only been feeling dissatisfied that this noob Gufei had stepped ahead once more before them, so they habitually started ridiculing the faction he had joined. The fact of the matter was that joining a faction at this point of the game was a good thing. It was fine even if it was a trash faction, which they were openly mocking. While they were all more interested in the League of Assassins, given the method that Sword Demon had joined by pledging his loyalty through slaying an official like Giordano, they all felt that this method was likely unrepeatable, so they reckoned Gufei had a clear route of entry in comparison. I hunted down 300 different players, Gufei answered. Your method doesn't seem to be all that difficult when compared to the League of Assassins. Royal God called derided. He had a certain idea what this sort of result entailed after he had tried his hands at turning a Windchaser's boots for himself back then. While it may not be difficult, it would require quite the amount of time. Brother Assist had already roughly estimated how much time it would take to complete 300 bounty mission, and it would definitely take days rather than hours. Furthermore, this quest had a certain level of risk due to the fighting involved. Brother Assist did not have the confidence of these experts when it came to PvPing and PvPing. Furthermore, this sort of missions was not particularly efficient when it came to level grinding, which meant anyone attempting this would surely slide down the leaderboard. In conclusion, this was not any particular leisurely pursuit that anyone could just complete without breaking a sweat. Sword Demon's method is still the more straightforward and simpler. Royal God Call changed his stance again after hearing Brother Assist's breakdown. Sword Demon smiled thickly, opting to stay out of the conversation. 300 times. Everyone muttered this number, with only young Master Han rolling his eyes at the thought. As a priest, if he wished to complete such an achievement, he would have to work hard, and it was not just for a short stint, either. Logically speaking, there should not be too much of a difference when it comes to joining a faction. Brother Assist said. While it's difficult for Sword Demon, that's also because we are only at around level 40 at the moment, which exponentially increases the difficulty. Meanwhile, although we can agree that Miles's method was time-consuming, it isn't dependent on a level. Aren't there too much of a contrast between the two methods? Theoretically speaking, it is indeed quite implausible. I know what you're trying to say, young Master Han concurred. Brother Assist nodded his head. Thus we can say that there are actually different ways to join a faction. We can call Sword Demon's method as the quest variant. By completing a particular quest, he got rewarded with a membership to the faction. Miles's method is a cumulative milestone. He got awarded a chance to join a faction after reaching a certain point. Did the system ask you to confirm your choice when you picked up your bounty license? Young Master Han asked. Yeah. This had only happened a few days ago, so Gufei could still recall what had transpired. When he handed in that last bounty mission, a NPC did ask something of him, but he could not remember just what it had asked. This was entirely because he did not really take note of these things in the game. Thinking back now, it was very likely that that NPC had mentioned the name of the faction he was now part of, but Gufei had probably dismissed it as trivial information. Look, that's just how it is, young Master Han said. So what you're saying is that there's also another cumulative milestone needed to join the League of Assassins. War Without Wounds was now interested. It was not particularly suitable for a slow-moving warrior like him to go around chasing after bounty targets. Cool Apple. Gufei suddenly mentioned the name. What about him? Giordano passed me a stack of papers containing information about Cool Apple. It details the man's achievement of accumulating a park value of 1,642 points, Gufei shared. Do you mean to say that that is what he has accumulated? Brother Assist asked. The man gathered so much park value he achieved the condition to join the League of Assassins, thereby allowing him to become number one in this faction? That's a possible hypothesis, young Master Han evaluated. Highly possible. The others agreed as well. We just don't know exactly how much is needed, Brother Assist said. He really wished he could directly interview Cool Apple about it and get a better grasp of this particular information. Otherwise, Brother Assist believed that he would have difficulties falling asleep over the next few days. It should be a number far above than Miles's 300 bounty mission, young Master Han said. Since the time consumption of the two activities is a different matter altogether, it's fine if it's more. Grinding out these skills is surely faster than Miles's 300 bounty mission, right? Royal God Call and War Without Wounds were envisioning themselves heading over to a newbie training ground in the early teens and clearing out the noobs. How many park points they could earn. I doubt intentionally pumping up your park value would work. Young Master Han could already see through the despicable thought that the two were planning to execute. I reckon that there's a certain sort of level requirement from your park targets. For example, a target should be not lower than 2 levels from the hunter's level, or it's something of the sort. Furthermore, grinding like that will need you to clear it regularly. Which is why there's no telling that it'd be faster than the 300 bounty mission, Sword Demon said. Is that really how Cool Apple managed to gain entry into both factions? The two men asked. Haven't we already clarified that there's no such thing as number 0? Still, I did think of another possibility. Cool Apple stumbled on the opportunity of gaining the bounty license after completing 300 bounty mission as he was parking, but he did the reverse of what Gufei had done. The man rejected the offer. This would at least explain that suspicion that Brother Assist had earlier. Miles is evidently number 1 in his faction, yet someone else found out about the bounty license's existence before he did, young Master Han said. What a wonderful analysis. Brother Assist was excited. His personality was one such that reveled in gaining an understanding to things he did not know, and sure enough, his tendency toward, in young Master Han's words, such childish curiosity was also one of the strongest. Now that young Master Han's analysis had perfectly explained one of the doubts he had, the contentment he felt was no less than that which Sword Demon felt when he obtained his dual-wielding mastery. Does that mean that number 1 is really Cool Apple? Sword Demon asked. Logically speaking, you should now have access to your faction communications channel now that you're a member. Do either of you get one? Young Master Han asked. The communications channel did not show a tab for factions, otherwise, everyone would have been aware of its existence in Parallel World. Nope. Gufei and Sword Demon answered after they checked it. That's not right. These veterans were all nonplussed. Perhaps it's only unlocked after reaching level 60? Brother Assist made a guess. That looks to be the case. The rest could not think of any other explanation. Chapter 498, Faction Intelligence Station. In the process of Cool Apple picking and clearing his accumulated park value, he inadvertently achieved the slaying of 300 unique players first and qualified to join this bounty faction. However, he probably felt that such a faction is boring, so he rejected the offer outright. Continuing his picking ways and accumulating more park value as he did so, the man finally hit another milestone and completed the condition to join the League of Assassins. This faction was more in line with what he had in mind, so he decided to join this faction, becoming number 1 for the League of Assassins. How's that? Think that that's more or less what has happened? Brother Assist summarized their inferences regarding Cool Apple as he conscientiously made a record of it. Sounds about right. Young Master Han nodded. Wait a minute. Something's not right, Gufei suddenly quipped. What now? Brother Assist was aggrieved. He had been feeling so contented when he made this completely logical inference. Brother Assist had no wish to hear any more about that difficult question. This was as good as torture for him, and too much of it merely made him want to run away. It's this, Gufei said. Slaying 300 unique players as bounty targets means a player should have at least completed the bounty mission 300 times. That means before this happened, Cool Apple probably first got the Windchaser's emblem as a reward, and it should at least be at level 2 by now. Is that relevant to the example we have given? Brother Assist asked. I don't think Cool Apple possesses a level 2 emblem, Gufei said. Naturally, the man had his reasoning for saying this, and it was all because Gufei had used the 100% appraisal feature that came with the level 2 Windchaser's emblem to find out about the overlevel skill Cool Apple had access through his dagger. That man's reaction on how Gufei had found out became the very basis with which he had made this inference. If Cool Apple possessed the Windchaser's emblem, which had the same features, Gufei believed his reaction would be to assume that the opponent possessed the same emblem and not express disbelief at what had happened. This inference you just made don't really hold water, young Master Han said. That's just the reaction from the man in that moment, and there are plenty of explanations to this. Maybe he was just expressing his shock over how you possess a level 2 emblem. 2. There's a limit to the application of that emblem's features. which coincidentally require you to pick up a daily bounty mission with him as the target. That's rather surprising by itself. Or perhaps he enjoys acting, and the surprise you saw is merely an act. Look, there are plenty of ways to interpret that, so why are you so certain that his reaction stemmed from the fact that he's unaware of such a feature? It was not that Gufei had not thought of other possibilities, and he simply did not know why he believed that Cool Apple was not in possession of an emblem. In this situation where he could not provide a reason for making such an inference, Gufei could only shamelessly answer, "My intuition." Intuition? Is there even such a thing in this world? Young Master Han turned to ask the others. Ahem, just how long are we going to spend talking about this matter? War Without Wounds forcibly changed the topic, clearly showing how annoyed he had been with it. Gufei shook his head, implying he neither agreed nor disagreed about the matter, even as he continued to mull over the matter himself. Young Master Han did not say anything further and just opened a bottle of liquor and guzzled it. Brother Assist was depressed. Hey, you guys should at least come to a conclusion for this discussion. He felt that either of them had logical claims to their inferences. Young Master Han had always been meticulous and careful when considering problems, while Gufei was the only one among them that had actually come face to face with Cool Apple. There was no way to disprove Gufei's reasoning given the subconscious hunch he might have gotten from his impression of and interaction with the man. Thus, seeing the two each insist on their views, Brother Assist was the one suffering as he struggled over who he found more believable. When no one said another word, Sword Demon got up and spoke. Is the matter resolved? If that is so, can I go do my mission now? Having never experienced a faction's daily mission, how could Sword Demon not feel hard-pressed right now? Unlike Brother Assist, the man cared not for the discussion to reach any sort of conclusion, as all he wanted was for it to end as soon as possible. Oh, yeah, Sword Demon, you did say got a mission. What sort of daily mission is it? War Without Wounds and Royal God Call came over and asked. It's a park mission, Sword Demon replied, but the content of it is very similar to what Miles has mentioned before. Gufei turned his gaze over and saw that Sword Demon was holding a slip of paper about the size of a name card. Brother Assist quickly took it and read it aloud to the crowd. Name, Broken Water Arrow Location, Linian City Job Class, Unknown. Level, Unknown. Equipment, Unknown. Experience, Unknown. Why is everything unknown? How can you even call this information? Brother Assist flipped the card over, but its other side was empty. Sword Demon shrugged helplessly as he took back the card, shaking it in his hand as he addressed Gru. Is there no other information? A large amount of manpower is required to collect information with the current manpower that the League possess. Gru sighed. Ha ha ha. It's a given that they don't have a lot of manpower. There are only 2 members, after all. War Without Wounds roared with laughter. Everyone has the rights and obligation to provide information to the League. If you feel that you are not up to the important task of cleansing evil from the land, it might not be a bad choice to start from here, Gru said as he lifted another name card. Yaru is in charge of gathering intel on people and will pay for the information accordingly. Sword Demon was stunned as he took the card from Gru, realizing a set of coordinates was in it. What does this mean? Sword Demon turned to regard the rest of his companions. It seems that players can provide information on other players to the faction. Brother Assist made such a guess even as he radiated a look of excitement. This was his forte. His specialty was valued by the game system, after all. Quick, let's head over there and take a look. Brother Assist gushed. Brother Assist, there's no way you can provide any information or such even if you head over. This is the rights and obligation the players from a particular faction have, Royal God Call said. Let's just head over there and find out more. Brother Assist only wished to make sense of what this entailed. Hence, the whole lot of them left Gru's little log cabin and, with a set of coordinates in hand, traversed from the jungle to Linian City. The coordinates led them to a building, something rarely seen in the rural setting of Linian City. A library? Everybody exchanged glances. The library in the game was not there merely for aesthetic purposes. While playing the game, any player that wished to understand any sort of design or configuration in the game could opt to head to the library found in the various cities and check for the relevant information in-game, aside from logging off and heading to the website to search for more details on the subject. Of course, This information was contained inside books, and the library itself lacked any system for exchanging information between the players. Unlike the website's forums, the lot of them was either old hands on the various aspects and rules of a game upon its release, or a newbie like Gouffé who could not be bothered to take note of the game's rules. To them, the library was a place that they had never stepped into before. The League of Assassins sure has quite the connection. Looks like they don't just hide in the forest, Royal Godcall remarked. Sword Demon had a look of pride on him as he took the first step right into the library. Whoa, there are actually quite a lot of people here. Walking through the library's corridors, they realized that quite a few players made use of this place to look for information. Approaching an NPC to inquire further, Yaru's location was not a secret, and the NPC was the librarian in charge of reference room number 5. Reaching the room, they saw an old man in its twilight years unsteadily wiping off the dirt in a book before it. Hearing the players call it, the old man turned around, a turbid look in its eyes, until its gaze swept over to Sword Demon. "Did you guys see that?" Its eyes just twinkled. Royal Godcall cried out. "That's a very useful detail, better write it down." Brother Assist took out his booklet and wrote thusly: "The librarian from reference room number 5 in Linian City's library, Old Man Yaru, an intelligence collector for the League of Assassins." Its eyes twinkle the moment it sees someone from the League. When everyone came forward to speak to Yaru, it only told them where they could find the books for the information that they were looking for. But once Sword Demon came forward, everyone held their breath and closely watched the ensuing interaction. "Come, young man, let me see what you've brought me." Even the line it used to open the conversation with was different. Brother Assist seemed to have already written something on paper as he tore a page out from his booklet and passed it over to Sword Demon. He glanced at the paper and saw that it was Brother Assist's own character information, written in the same format as that card he had. Brother Assist indicated for him to pass it to Yaru. Sword Demon did not think much of it and handed it over to the NPC. Yaru accepted it from him and even took out a prescription glasses from its chest pocket to pore over the information closely. "Oh." Old Yaru nodded. "Very good, continue your hard work." With that, he stuffed the piece of paper into his pocket and produced a small pouch to Sword Demon. "What are the rewards?" The others gazed at Sword Demon enviously. "Experience, some money, and faction honor." Sword Demon opened that little pouch and said, "Wow." Everyone was jealous. "Except the reward is paltry," Sword Demon said. Everyone became silent. They were all aware that Sword Demon was honest. If he said that it was paltry and did not even mention the amount, it meant the sum was so meager it was not worth mentioning. "Try again." Brother Assist tore off another piece of paper and passed it Sword Demon. Sword Demon gave a quick glance and saw that it was still Brother Assist's information. However, compared to the one before, he purposely wrote down his level as 30, which was incorrect. Sword Demon once more handed the paper over to Yaru. Once the NPC accepted it and pored through the information, it sighed softly and shook his head. Returning the paper to Sword Demon, it said, "Take note of the accuracy in the information you provide. In that case." Brother Assist once more wrote down information on another piece of paper. "Try this one now." Sword Demon looked at the new piece of paper and saw that every information was correct. Actually, the first he submitted before had errors, but this third slip was corrected accordingly. "Oh, do you have new information you wish to update?" This time, after reading what was written on the paper, Yaru gave Sword Demon a small pouch. Sword Demon looked through its content. "It's less than before." "So that's how it is." Brother Assist nodded. "It looks like the system specifically checks the information that players provide. There's room for error the first time, so the player can make changes the next time around, but it will decide whether to reject or accept the information based on how much of the content is correct or wrong. We'll still have to test things out more if we hope to understand how the rules of reward work." With that, Brother Assist tore off a fourth piece of paper. "Try this." Sword Demon glanced through it and exclaimed, That's just too ridiculous." On that fourth piece, Brother Assist had written the name as Motherfucker, which was an IGN that the system would not even accept during the character creation process, so such a person with that name could not possibly play the game. Furthermore, the job class was fake, The level provided was an outright lie and the equipment was all made up. This was a piece of information that could not be any more falsified. Sword Demon passed it over to Yaru, only for it to express its anger after looking through the paper like before. "We want information, not jokes." Saying this, Yaru shredded the paper into pieces. Everybody was stunned when they saw this. Sword Demon held Brother Assist's hand tightly as he began tearing up. "Brother Assist, don't use me to test things anymore. My faction honor got reduced." Chapter 499, Deep Waters doing drills with his men. "Oh, your faction honor got reduced? How much?" Brother Assist had his notebook at the ready as diligently probed Sword Demon. 50 points, Sword Demon answered. Brother Assist recorded this down in a hurry as he asked again, "And how much were you awarded before?" "The first time was 7 points, the second time had nothing, and the third was 2 points, Sword Demon answered. "There don't seem to be any logic behind this." Brother Assist took the quill and lightly tapped it against his temple, as if he were trying to come up with an idea to test things out. Sword Demon, where are you going?" Gufei exclaimed. His hand stretched out into thin air and slapped Sword Demon right as he was about to enter stealth. It was only then that Brother Assist realized that Sword Demon had sneaked off away after standing next to him moments ago. Sword Demon was in tears. "I want to leave. If we continue testing things out like this, I think I might just be kicked out from my faction." "Kicked out of a faction? What are the requirements for that? How much faction honor should be deducted from you?" Brother Assist asked. As a man who had experienced countless battles, Sword Demon was never one to furrow his brows no matter how tough a mission or quest might be. However, now, the man was in tears as he pleaded to Gufei. "Let me go." Gufei hurriedly retracted his hand and let Sword Demon pass, allowing him to disappear in a puff of smoke. "Kicked out of faction. I gotta go, too." Before Brother Assist could say anything else, Gufei blinked out of the door. Only 2 players were in a faction among them, and with Sword Demon gone, Brother Assist was starting to turn his attention to Gufei. Gufei was a little rueful. Had he known this would happen, he would have stopped Sword Demon from leaving. Fortunately, Brother Assist did not have much of a movement speed, so Gufei was able to make it out the door and did not see Brother Assist's attempt to chase after him. "Oh, Lord, could you please tell me what the requirements needed are to get kicked out of a faction?" Brother Assist began to beg old man Yaru. The man has gone nuts, War Without Wounds said. "Yup, we're leaving, too," Royal God Call said. With that, the others left the room as well, leaving just Brother Assist with Yaru. The man was unable to get any information out of the NPC, so he turned to search for information in the library. Outside the library, Sword Demon and Gufei sat by the roadside after they had made their escape. Gufei tilted his head over to Sword Demon, who was fingering that card Gru had given him which listed his target. "I was planning to ask Brother Assist if he has information on this guy." Sword Demon shook his head with regret. The card only included the name of the player and the city this person resided in. Asking anyone to hunt for such a target with such sparse information was no better than searching for a needle in the haystack. Actually, back when Gufei had just gotten that stack of paper containing Cool Apple's information, the only realistically useful bit in it was the name and the city his target resided in as well. Gufei was just fortuitous enough to cross paths with the man so serendipitously. Truthfully, the more of an expert someone was, the more likely they would feel that it was harder locating a target than killing. Brother Assist can't possibly know everything. Gufei consoled. "Why not find that friend of yours? What's his name again?" "Depthwater? Deep Waters, you mean?" "Right, Deep Waters." Gufei nodded. "Looks like I don't have another choice." Sword Demon sighed. Gufei did not say anything else, but from what he understood of Sword Demon, the latter was not the type to seek for anyone's help unless he really had no options left. Take the time he grinded out the Windchaser's boots from before, the man had grinded a pair for himself through his own effort, which was in stark contrast with how Royal God Call had borrowed equipment and aid, whichever best suited him to make the entire process easier, to get his bear. It was not really that either option was better than the other, but that their choice depicted the difference in their personalities and preferences. Since Gufei was the one who suggested consulting Deep Waters, he believed that Sword Demon would at least have an easier time agreeing to it. "What are the two of you sitting down here for?" The other four had left the library by this time too. Young Master Han asked this the moment they spotted the two sitting at the roadside. "We're about to search for deep waters to find out more about my target." Sword Demon raised the card in his hand. "Wanna tag along? We could use this chance to catch up. I think it's best if I'm not present if you want to get his help. If you wanna make him feel a little better, you can just tell him I'm dead," young Master Han said. Sword Demon did not bother to say anything further. He had already seen much of the tumultuous relationship that the two shared. "What about you guys?" Sword Demon turned to regard the rest. "I'm off to do some quests. I've wasted quite a lot of time running all over the place." War Without Wound's fighting spirit had been relatively high recently. Following Southern Lone Blade's fall in the ranking, he rose up to take second place on the warrior leaderboard, which was just a step away from the number one warrior spot that he was all too familiar with. While he was traveling with a mercenary group from place to place, he had also been doing his best to efficiently use the free time he had. While his efforts might not surpass the player currently in the number one spot, it would at least stave him off from falling from number two. Despite this, there were truly a huge number of players in this game, so the competition was stiff. As hard as War Without Wounds tried, given that the places he had recently been were regions he was unfamiliar with, the efficiency of his level grinding was greatly affected, such that he experienced a drop in his ranking. Along with Royal God Call and young Master Han, the three men had dropped 2 places and were now ranked 4th, 9th, and 10th in the Warrior, Archer, and Priest leaderboards respectively. The only player whose position among the 10 great adepts had remained unchanged was Sword Demon, which only showed just how frightening his rate of experience accumulation was on average. This legendary top MMO gamer was indeed a tier above the rest. Even more indomitable than Sword Demon was the Lady Svelte Dancer. She had never mentioned anything about how she grinded her levels, yet her position as the number one player across the leaderboards had never been broken. As War Without Wounds boomed about his need to grind his level, she leisurely said, "That's so boring, I'm off to go shopping." "Do you need me to accompany you shopping?" Royal God Call suddenly perked up. "Are you offering to pay for me?" Svelte Dancer smiled. "Wounds, count me in for your grinding." Royal God Call quickly changed his mind. It was not that he was stingy in spending any money when courting ladies, but the problem was that the lady in question right now was the world-renowned top pay-to-win gamer. If anyone were to attempt to woo her with money, Royal God Call was not that much of a fool. The four went their separate ways thusly, leaving just Gufei and Sword Demon. "I'll accompany you for a bit, I'll be logging off soon after," Gufei said. Actually, when it came to grinding levels, Gufei was really the one that left these experts grinding their teeth. The man played just a handful of hours each day, yet his level was on a steady rise. Decked out in equipment that left others salivating, they would only be left exasperated when they compared themselves to him. Sword Demon asked for Deepwater's location as the two made their way to the coordinates they were given. Deepwater was not in the city but was currently in the jungle outside, most likely grinding his level. As the two men drew nearer to the given coordinates, Gufei suddenly reached his hand out to stop Sword Demon. "Wait a minute. What's the matter?" "Killing intent?" Just like how Gufei had a grasp of Sword Demon's personality and actions, the same could be said of the latter to the former. Gufei nodded as he scanned their surroundings while doing a rough mental calculation of the number of people he had sensed just then. Before he could finish tallying the number, they heard the rustling of leaves from the shrubbery and foliage around as numerous heads poked out, their bows and arrows aiming right at the two men as someone shouted, "Don't move." Gufei and Sword Demon suddenly felt that they had traversed into another dimension altogether. This circle of players were all dressed in camouflage, each wearing a green cap on their heads. Meanwhile, it was unknown whether their faces were painted or covered with something that seemed to be mud or colored paint. Sword Demon pinched his own thigh. Was he still in parallel world? Gufei had reached for his sword by now and was just about to use Blink to slay some of these men when he heard a man laugh as he stepped forward. "So what do you guys think of this formation?" The two froze up. Sword Demon carefully stared at this man whose face and clothes were all in the same shade of green and gingerly asked, "Deep waters? Haha. If even you struggle to locate me, that just goes to show how successful our disguise is." Deep Waters was still chuckling as he reached the two of them with his hands behind his back. The players all around kept the bows in their hands as they stood at attention with a salute. Gufei and Sword Demon looked at each other. What in the world are you guys doing? Is this some simulation of a field ops? Sword Demon asked. He had heard of people trying to dress up and play at Counter-Strike in live action, and it was very similar to what Deep Waters and his men were doing right now. Haha. What? It's a long story, I'll fill you in later. Deep Waters chortled before his expression abruptly turned cold as he asked frigidly, where's that bastard? Sword Demon obviously knew who he was referring to. That was when he realized that if young Master Han was here, he would probably be killed by this formation. Just when did this sort of bad blood brew between the two? Seeing that look seemingly emanating killing intent from every pore of Deep Water's skin, Sword Demon blurted out, he's dead. Dead? But he's clearly online. How did he die? Deep Waters asked. I slew him, Gufei chimed in. Deep Water finally realized that what Sword Demon meant was that young Master Han had died in the game. Cheerfully patting Gufei on his back, he said, that's a good bro. With the matter about young Master Han out of the way, Deep Waters quickly returned to the topic at hand as he pointed to his men. So what do you think of this formation we have? It's very good, Sword Demon replied without batting an eyelid. It's a good thing you came out in time. Gufei gave this answer. Haha. Deep Waters was elated. Sword Demon sighed. Instead, seeing Gufei stow his sword away, he knew that Deep Waters had misinterpreted his meaning. Gufei meant that it was a good thing Deep Waters had came out and identified himself in time, or he would have mistaken them for enemies and started a massacre, yet Deep Waters obviously thought that Gufei meant that they would be dead had it not been for Deep Waters' timely intervention. What exactly are you looking to achieve, troubling yourself over all this? Sword Demon asked. Well, it's like this. One of the new recruits to my guild used to serve in the army in real life. The man was part of a unit and had experience doing covert operations in this type of terrain. He said that the terrain in Lenian City is suitable for jungle warfare, so we went along with his plan and have been doing a lot of drills here since we have nothing to do. It's pretty fun. Look at our clothes, we made them ourselves. Deep Water showed off. Is the green cap superscript 1 part of the outfit? 2. Gufei and Sword Demon uttered this same line in their minds, but neither was so inconsiderate to voice it out. Had young Master Han really been here, the man would most likely have had no qualms saying it. The city war is about to begin, right? We've been training as much as we can for it. I feel that our park standard in the jungle has seen a stark improvement, Deep Waters continued. City war? The two had no idea what that was about. Don't you guys know? The war that will pit guilds against one another to vie for control for the city. It seems that it is something that will automatically begin the moment a guild reaches a certain size, Deep Waters explained. Gufei and Sword Demon shook their heads. They were indeed unaware of this. Besides the fact that the 6 men from Young Master's elite were disassociated from things involving guilds, they had been away from their city of origin ever since they left for traversing 4 Seas Guild quest. Recently, they had also been caught up with the quest in Andrew Sue's diary, so even Brother Assist was not updated on this matter. When was this made known? Sword Demon asked. These last 2 days, I think. The system directly announced this to the guilds. Even the official website have yet to publish this information. Deep Waters replied. Chapter 500 Jungle Warfare. Deep Waters then proceeded to recall in great detail what had happened the day before. As every guild sent members over to the main hall of guilds to pick up some quests, they each received a letter directly from the system. The content of the letter was not much, all it mentioned was that the day when the war for the city was coming, and this early notification was a reminder to every guild to make good use of the remaining time and make the necessary preparations. This was akin to a situation where sinking a stone could create thousands of ripples. It might only be just a few words, but the fact that it came from the system made all the difference. After confirming that the date of the day was not the 1st of April, nobody else dared to dispute the authenticity of the letter. What did it mean when it said it was coming? A week? 2 weeks? Or was it a month? Players were all speculating over this even as they seized what time they had to prepare what they could. Grinding out levels, acquiring equipment, increasing skill proficiencies. Everyone felt that there were plenty of things that they must do in such a limited time. Development in MMOs could be considered as an endless task that required daily input. Not doing anything like those experts in Young Masters Elite these past few days would only result in their rankings to drop. Meanwhile, Deep Waters and his men had already spent several days going through this jungle warfare training. He felt that they were really lucky to receive that letter detailing about the upcoming city war. Having ultimately suffered a defeat at the hands of traversing 4 seas during their guild quest, Deep Waters discovered that there were many aspects in his guild he was lacking. It was impossible for him to expect his men to reach the level of indomitability that Gufei had shown, but as a guild, Deep Waters felt that it was important for each member's capabilities to be fully utilized. In the course of them going head-to-head against the enemies, it was the teamwork demonstrated through traversing 4C's archer formation that had left the deepest impression on the man. Deep Waters' guild largely comprised of hunters, so he originally wanted to try and train the coordination of everybody's archery, believing that it would be really powerful if they could incorporate that into their trap formation. However, while that might be what he had hoped to achieve, Deep Waters felt that the terrain around Linian City, with many trees and foliage obstructing their field of vision, would make it difficult for that formation to apply in actual combat. After all, this terrain was the reason most of the archers in Linian City chose to advance as hunters. Just as he was thinking that he could not continue further down this path, that military expert joined his guild. After joining the guild for a short while, the expert showed his expertise quickly as he began to theoretically explain a few key elements of jungle warfare to Deep Waters. Deep Waters first needed to understand the immutable objective factors of the jungle warfare. For example, the cover the tree trunks provided made it unsuitable for large-scale tactical insertion, and it also weakened the strike range of long-ranged attacks. The stationary trees themselves severely affected formations and overall coordination. Furthermore, large war weaponry would be unable to make it into the jungle, yet this issue was relevant only in the real world and not something that needed to be considered in parallel world. This man's words Deep Waters grounded him back to reality. Deep Waters had some awareness of this, but he could not put his idea into words and make sense of things. Yet this pro managed to do so succinctly. Deep Waters' trust for this man increased exponentially as a result, and proceeded to seek his advice in making improvements. This expert made his suggestion after melding what he learned in real life and his understanding of this game. The disadvantages players faced within the jungle was shared between friends and foes alike, so victory lay in reducing the drawback this terrain had on them by using it to their advantage. Brother Assist surely be able to record an entire book worth of notes regarding the theories this expert had elaborated on if he were present. This was no longer simply about gaming experience or skill, but it was essentially a well-established scientific methodology. Given the amount of knowledge, it was impossible for these gamers to absorb everything the man had said over such a short time. Besides, there were still many aspects of the game that differed from real life. Ultimately, Deep Waters was the final discretionary filter. He felt that this camouflage thingy was the only combat method they could drill in with the limited amount of time they had left. Just this one method had allowed them to see the fruit of their labor immediately after they had tested it. Wearing this type of handcrafted outfits did not affect the original stats and traits of their equipment, and fashioning their outfits in this color indeed perfectly blended with their surroundings, which made it easier for them to stay hidden. Another unexpected benefit of this was that the enemies would be unable to tell their job class at a glance and would have to rely on their appraisal skill. This was the difference between a game and real life. Players in Parallel World had different job classes, and each job class would be fought differently. It was really unconventional for there to be noobs or world-class experts like Gufei that would attack without even clearly appraising their targets. Besides, Deep Waters no longer planned to engage in a large-scale coordinated battle after hearing the expert's suggestion. After all, with the issue of the line of sight players had in the jungle, no genius commander would be able to effectively observe the changes in the battlefield. Therefore, the person would be unable to make the best command in accordance to how the battle unfolded. Was it not young Master Han's dependency on holding the vantage point that had allowed him to win time and again during the PvP tournament before? As such, the jungle would only depend on the individual player's capability to fight, and if they were to engage in a group battle, the size of their party should not be anything sizable. Having more would only be detrimental to them. The lack of a unified command meant it would not work with a lot of members in a group. After all, Deepwaters found this to be immensely agreeable, and he proceeded to divide his guild members into 10 parties of 15 to 20 players. Specifically for jungle warfare. He had come across plenty of issues while dividing these parties, as friends preferred to be grouped together, and Deepwaters did not wish to go against their wishes. In the end, many of these parties were unable to achieve the ideal distribution he had envisioned. This was still a game, after all. If they were really in military, these players would never go against a direct order from their superior. Once everything was settled, Deepwaters began to lead these men into the jungle as they continued to grind and practice drills. Positioning. That was something the expert had emphasized heavily on when it came to long-range job classes in jungle warfare. Obtain a good position and the tree's trunks would become their friends. Poor positioning would only lead to the tree trunks getting in their way. This became the newest motto of the guild, and the acquisition of an excellent position became the ultimate pursuit for everyone. Furthermore, this was something no one could simply impart by teaching, and it required the players to experience it for themselves in actual combat. Just how to stand in a way that they were most comfortable with yet made it immensely difficult for enemies to nail down. Deepwaters talked to Gufei and Sword Demon endlessly as they walked. At the same time, his men continued to stand still and keep their eyes on the three as they proceeded onward. After so many days of drills, their personal discipline had unknowingly seen improvement, and the ways of the military had slightly rubbed off on them. However, honestly speaking, Gufei and Sword Demon were not particularly interested in what Deepwaters was rambling on. Gufei was already a peak existence when it came to individual combat, so much so that he was a full-fledged squad all by himself. Meanwhile, Sword Demon had come with a different purpose in mind. Besides, he was no longer a guild leader himself. He did not really have much of a heart to research and study how to better coordinate and take command of group battles like such. Oh, yeah. Gufei could see how happily Deepwaters discussed this, that he had forgotten to ask their reason for reaching out to him. Knowing Sword Demon's personality, Gufei knew the man would have difficulty broaching the subject in such a situation, so he saw fit to give the conversation a shove in the right direction. What? Deepwaters had been chattering away this entire time, yet the two men merely listened and did not contribute to the conversation. Just as he was feeling a little lonely, he saw that Gufei wished to ask him something, so he happily turned around immediately. You seem busy, so we shan't take up your time any further. Bye. Gufei attempted to advance the conversation by taking a step back. Any normal human being would have picked up on the cue and immediately asked, "Oh, yeah, why are you looking for me?" In the end, Deepwaters was overly passionate about this topic to the point that his happiness made him abnormal, as he immediately said, "No, wait. Let me introduce you to Old Broken first." Old Broken was the expert helping Deepwaters in their jungle warfare techniques. Gufei and Sword Demon were almost numb hearing Deepwaters mention this man's name constantly throughout this one-sided conversation. Maybe next time. Gufei laughed dryly. He had truly dug himself into a pit here. Their colleague Deepwaters had completely short-circuited today. He had even forgotten how to act like a normal human being. They were about to leave, yet he did not show any intention of asking them the reason for their visit to him. "Oh, come on, you've come all the way here. Why don't you meet and learn from him?" Knowledge is power. Deepwaters continued. Helpless, Gufei glanced at Sword Demon, who was showing a similarly helpless expression, and casually asked, "What's the name of this Old Broken?" "His IGN is Broken Water Arrow." "What?" Deepwaters had not even finished his sentence when the two exclaimed in astonishment, "What's the matter?" Deepwaters scratched his head, perplexed. Gufei and Sword Demon exchanged glances. "What an eerie coincidence. What's up with the two of you?" Deepwaters asked. "Nothing." Gufei answered even as he saw the current downcast look on Sword Demon's face. He reckoned that Sword Demon had most likely given up on the daily mission by now, otherwise, he would not be Sword Demon but young Master Han. "Come, Old Broken isn't too far ahead." Deepwaters was still as enthused as before in wanting to introduce his new member to the two. Right now, he was like a child who was excited to flaunt to his friends the limited edition toy he had just gotten. "Since we're here, let's see who this person is." Gufei privately messaged Sword Demon. Fine, agreed Sword Demon. Did you still intend to continue with your mission? If you do wish to continue, we're gonna have a chance soon. A slash from me and a stab from you, and we can immediately take the man down before we make our escape. Gufei laid the option out. Forget it. Sword Demon did not even hesitate. Plus, it was just a daily mission. He could always abandon it today and pick up another tomorrow. Following deep waters deeper into the jungle, the man was already calling out, "Old Broken, where are you? Let me introduce you to the two experts I know." A player stepped out from the foliage and looked over. Gufei and Sword Demon returned the gaze as well. Broken Water Arrow was not particularly tall, but he stood there with the calmness of a stone Buddha. He had a buzz cut and a squarish jawline, and the camouflage he had on was nothing distinct. He wore a camouflage outfit on top of the equipment he had on, but Gufei could tell from a glance that this person was well built. That's quite the fearsome figure. There's no way this man's ordinary. Gufei presumed that the man was just a military geek from the way Deep Waters spoke of him, so it was acceptable for him to have a good grasp of some theories, but it was evident from this man's body that he had undergone intensive training, and there was no way he was just the average gamer. Could this person really be once part of the military? Gufei wondered.